The roar of the Heathrow Express filled Tony's ears. He was back in London. Rain splattered the train window. A grey sky greeted him. Quite a change from the Kenyan sun. 3 weeks. It felt like a lifetime ago. 3 weeks of sun-drenched beaches and laughter, shared moments with Farzana. Her smile, her intelligence. He'd missed their morning runs along the beach. Now, duty called, he could already feel the familiar weight settling on his shoulders. London had a way of doing that. The city never slept, neither did danger. Kenya. He closed his eyes, picturing the vibrant hues of the setting sun. The air thick with the scent of salt and hibiscus. Farzana, he saw her face in his mind's eye. They had met by chance. A shared love of adventure, of the unknown, their paths converging under the African sky. He'd discovered a kindred spirit in her, a brilliant mind hidden beneath her effortless grace. She'd challenged him, pushed him, made him see the world through different eyes. Their days were filled with laughter, exploration, and a connection he hadn't anticipated. The phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him back to the present.
Spears.
His voice was curt, professional. The vacation was over.
Tony, glad I caught you. Need you back at headquarters. Urgent matter.
M's voice was clipped, businesslike. No pleasantries. This was serious. A familiar thrill shot through Tony. The adrenaline rush of the unknown. He was back in the game. He glanced out the window. London was getting closer, and so was his next mission. While the black cab deposited Tony outside the imposing facade of MI6 headquarters, rain still slicked the pavement, reflecting the city lights. He took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. Time to get back to work. Inside, the atmosphere was a stark contrast to the bustling streets, hushed whispers, the click of heels on polished floors, agents with steely gazes, their faces etched with secrets. He knew the routine. He was home. He strode through the familiar corridors, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Each step took him closer to M, to his briefing, to the unknown. The anticipation thrummed in his veins.
Welcome back, Agent Spears. M's expecting you.
M's office was Spartan as always. A mahogany desk dominated the room, its surface bare except for a single folder marked Top Secret. M sat behind it, his face etched with concern. But beside him 2 figures stood beaming, Agent Albert King and David Jones.
Ah, Tony, good to have you back. King, Jones, I believe you've already met Agent Spears.
M's voice was gruff but with a hint of relief. It was nothing really, Tony demurred, deflecting the compliments. He knew better than to let praise inflate his ego. Just another day at the office.
Modesty doesn't suit you, Spears. The Dubai operation was a success thanks to your quick thinking. The Emir himself expressed his gratitude. Said you were instrumental in dismantling a dangerous smuggling ring.
We were just in the right place at the right time, sir, Tony insisted, though a flicker of pride warmed him. Recognition from M was rare and valued.
Indeed, and speaking of being in the right place,
he gestured towards King and Jones.
These two have just returned from Zamunda. Seems our friends the King and Queen were quite impressed with their performance on that little security detail. The pleasure was all ours, sir. The Zamundan royal family were most gracious hosts. A truly delightful assignment. Indeed, a most charming royal couple. Their security detail, however, left something to be desired. Good thing we were there to lend our expertise.
Tony raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Zamunda. He'd heard whispers of unrest in the region. It seemed MI6's reach was expanding, and with it, the potential for danger. M leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on Tony. Now, about Dubai, he began, a hint of amusement in his voice. Seems our vacationing agent stumbled onto something rather interesting. Tony shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. It was hardly a vacation, sir, more like an impromptu intervention. He recalled the chaos of that night. The crowded marketplace, the scent of spices and intrigue, the sudden realization that he was at the heart of a smuggling operation. "Indeed," M said, his eyes twinkling. "And let's not forget the invaluable assistance of Miss Farzana Khan. Seems you've acquired quite the ally, Spears." Tony's thoughts drifted to Farzana. Her quick wit, her courage under pressure, the way her eyes seemed to see through every facade. He couldn't deny the admiration, the gratitude, and perhaps something more simmering beneath the surface. The Dubai leadership was most impressed with Miss Khan's skills, M continued, tapping a finger on the file before him. Her expertise in cybersecurity proved instrumental, shall we say. "Tony, she's brilliant," Tony said, a hint of pride in his voice, "the best in the business." He remembered their late night strategizing, the way their minds worked in sync, the thrill of unraveling the complex web of the smuggling ring. Farzana was more than just capable. She was a force to be reckoned with. "So it seems," M said, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "In fact, they were so impressed, they've offered her a rather prestigious position." "Miss Khan is now the head of cybersecurity for the Emirate of Dubai," M announced, his voice laced with a hint of satisfaction. Tony couldn't help but feel a surge of pride for Farzana. She had ascended to a position of power, a testament to her skills and determination, but a pang of something else flickered within him, a sense of loss, perhaps. Dubai, with its glittering towers and shifting sands, now held a new significance for him. It was the city where he had met Farzana, where their paths had crossed in a whirlwind of danger and intrigue. Now it was her domain, a place where she would leave her mark on the world. He realized, with a start, that M was still speaking. "This development presents us with a unique opportunity," M was saying, "a valuable ally in a strategically vital region."
And what about King and Jones, sir? What brings them back from their royal duties?
Agent Albert King and David Jones were sharing a laugh, their faces relaxed and happy. King had his arm slung casually around Jones's shoulder, their camaraderie evident.
Ah, yes. Their Zamundan adventure was merely a prelude to bigger things. Seems the world is clamoring for MI6's finest.
AM paused for effect, enjoying the air of anticipation in the room.
Agent Jones, you've been seconded to the FBI. Your new posting, Zamunda.
Jones's eyebrows shot up in surprise, but a slow grin spread across his face.
Zamunda, you say? Well, well. Seems those charming royals couldn't bear to let me go. Don't let it go to your head, Jones. I hear the palace kitchens make a mean mango lassi.
M cleared his throat, silencing their banter.
And as for you, Agent King, you're headed south. The CIA has requested your particular talents.
King's grin faded slightly, replaced by a look of focused intensity.
South Africa, sir. Johannesburg, to be precise. A new challenge awaits.
King shifted his weight, a flicker of apprehension crossing his usually stoic features.
Johannesburg. A bit rough around the edges, isn't it?
A photograph of the Johannesburg skyline at sunset, a blend of towering skyscrapers and sprawling townships. The sky was ablaze with warm hues, casting long shadows across the urban landscape.
Don't let the guidebooks fool you, King. Johannesburg is a city of contrasts, a melting pot of culture and ambition. But beneath its vibrant surface, there are currents of unrest, whispers of conspiracies that even the most seasoned agents struggle to navigate.
M leaned forward, his gaze piercing.
That's precisely why the CIA needs you there. They're dealing with a situation, a network, that stretches across continents, connecting the darkest corners of the globe.
Tony felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. This wasn't just about royal security details or diplomatic missions anymore. This was about something bigger, something darker, something that sent shivers down his spine. M continued, his voice low and serious.
They've requested you specifically because of your experience with a certain individual, someone you encountered during your time in South Africa. A name you might recognize, John Kibet.
A photograph of John Kibet. a man with a lean, athletic build and a sharp, intelligent gaze. He was dressed in a casual button-down shirt and jeans, but his stance exuded an air of quiet confidence and authority. Tony's mind raced back to his South African assignment. He remembered Kibet, a local contact, a fixer, a man who moved through the shadows, always one step ahead of the game. He was resourceful, cunning, and fiercely loyal to his homeland. But something about him always felt off.
Kibet, what's he got to do with this?
M's expression remained unchanged, his eyes like chips of ice.
It seems our Mr. Kibet has been a busy man since your last encounter. He's climbed the ranks, made connections in high places, and now he's joined the ranks of the CIA, stationed in Johannesburg, no less.
A heavy silence descended upon the room. Tony exchanged a look with King, a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation. Kibet joining the CIA was one thing, but his presence in Johannesburg, at the heart of this unfolding operation, felt like more than just coincidence.
And to add another layer of complexity to this already intricate web, we have another player returning to the board. Agent Josie Jackson, also known as our esteemed Queen Josie Joffer, will be resuming her duties with the FBI.
Queen Josie? King exclaimed, a hint of disbelief in his voice. I thought she was done with fieldwork. Retired to her palace in Zamunda, living the life of a queen.
Retirement doesn't suit everyone, King. It seems the call of duty, and perhaps the allure of a good mystery, has brought our queen back into the game. Her Majesty has graciously offered her expertise and, more importantly, her access to the Zamundan court. It seems our Zamundan friends have stumbled upon something rather interesting. Something that connects them to this burgeoning network, to Johannesburg, and to the heart of the matter.
He paused for effect, letting the weight of his words sink in.
Gentlemen, we're dealing with a smuggling operation. But not just any operation. This one involves gold, a lot of it, flowing from the mines of the DRC through South Africa and ultimately ending up in the glittering vaults of Dubai.
They call it the Gold Express, M revealed, his voice barely a whisper, yet carrying the weight of a thunderclap in the silent room. Tony felt a shiver run down his spine. The name itself, the Gold Express, had a sinister ring to it, evoking images of clandestine operations, illicit cargo, and a ruthless disregard for the law. This wasn't just about greed, it was about power, about exploiting the vulnerable, about destabilizing entire nations for profit.
It's a sophisticated network. They operate in the shadows, exploiting every loophole, every blind spot, every weakness in the system. From the war-torn mines of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where innocent lives are sacrificed on the altar of greed, to the gleaming skyscrapers of Dubai, where fortunes are made and empires built on the backs of the exploited, the Gold Express runs unchecked.
Tony listened intently, his mind working overtime, piecing together the fragments of information, the whispers of conspiracy, the trails of greed that led them to this moment. He'd encountered his fair share of criminal enterprises, but the sheer scale of the Gold Express, its audacity, its reach, was unsettling to say the least. We've been tracking their movements for months, M admitted, a rare flicker of frustration crossing his features, but they're like phantoms, always one step ahead, their tracks vanishing into thin air, their operations shrouded in layers of shell corporations and offshore accounts. The Dubai authorities have reached out for our assistance, M continued, his gaze hardening with resolve. They're aware of the whispers, the rumors of a powerful syndicate operating within their borders, but they've hit a wall. They need our expertise, our discretion, our ability to operate beyond the confines of conventional law enforcement. Tony felt a surge of purpose. This was what it was all about. This was why he did what he did, why he willingly walked into the shadows, why he embraced the danger. It was about fighting for those who couldn't fight for themselves, about exposing the truth, about holding the powerful accountable. Section 3, a web of corruption. We believe the Gold Express has infiltrated every level of government, M's voice was low, dangerous. Customs officials, police officers, politicians, even members of the intelligence community, they've all been compromised. Their loyalty bought and paid for with blood gold. Tony exchanged a look with King and Jones, a silent acknowledgement of the danger, the insidious reach of corruption. It was one thing to chase shadows to outwit criminals, but to confront a network so deeply embedded in the fabric of society that felt like fighting a hydra, each head severed only to be replaced by two more. That's where you three come in. M said, his gaze unmoving. We need to dismantle the Gold Express from the inside out, expose their network, cut off their funding, and bring their leaders to justice. King, M turned to the imposing agent. You'll be our man on the ground in Johannesburg. Your mission, infiltrate Kibet's inner circle, gain his trust, and uncover the South African connection. We need to know how they're moving the gold across borders, who's protecting them, who's pulling the strings.
Jones, M continued, his voice laced with a hint of respect for the agent's unique abilities. You're headed back to familiar territory. Your mission, leverage your connections within the Zamundan court, exploit Queen Josie's influence, and uncover the source of their intelligence. We need to know what they've stumbled upon, what they know about the Gold Express, and who they're protecting. Jones, a flicker of amusement dancing in his eyes, gave a slight bow. Always happy to oblige, ma'am. Besides, who can resist the allure of a royal intrigue, especially with Queen Josie leading the charge?
M allowed himself a rare smile, a brief acknowledgement of the lighter side of their perilous profession. And as for you, Spears, he turned to Tony, his gaze piercing Dubai's calling once more. Your mission, reconnect with your asset, Miss Khan, and leverage her position within the Emirati government. We need eyes and ears on the inside, someone who can expose the Gold Express's financial operations, their connections to the Dubai elite, and their ultimate endgame. Tony felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This wasn't just another mission, it was personal. Farzana was in the heart of it now, her life intertwined with the intricate web of the Gold Express. Her every move potentially watched, her every decision carrying unforeseen consequences. He had to reach her, protect her, and together they had to bring down the Gold Express, no matter the cost. Section 1, a global threat. The weight of M's words hung heavy in the air. The Gold Express wasn't just a smuggling operation, it was a cancer, its tendrils reaching across continents, poisoning everything it touched. From the ravaged mines of the Congo to the gleaming towers of Dubai, innocent lives were caught in its web. Tony felt a surge of anger, a righteous fury at the injustice, the greed, the callous disregard for human life that fueled the Gold Express's engine. He'd always known his work had global implications, but this time the stakes felt more personal, the threat more immediate. This wasn't just about intelligence gathering or covert operations. This was about justice, about fighting for those who couldn't fight for themselves, about dismantling a criminal enterprise that thrived on exploitation and corruption. He met the gazes of his fellow agents, saw the same steely determination reflected in their eyes. They were soldiers in a shadow war, bound by duty, honor, and a shared commitment to a world where justice, not greed, prevailed. Section 2. The Stakes and the Heroes. M surveyed his agents, his expression grim but resolute. The Gold Express is a formidable enemy, he acknowledged, his voice low, steady. They are organized, ruthless, and deeply embedded in the global power structure. But they have one weakness, M continued, his gaze hardening with resolve. They underestimate us. They underestimate the power of dedication, of unwavering commitment to a cause greater than ourselves. He paused, letting his words sink in. Go forth, agents, he commanded, his voice resonating with authority. Dismantle this network, expose the truth, bring them to justice. Tony, along with King and Jones, nodded, a silent vow exchanged. They were MI6's finest. The silent guardians of a world teetering on the edge. The fate of nations, the lives of innocents, rested on their shoulders. As Tony stepped out of M's office and back into the bustling heart of London, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just another mission. This was personal. This was the Gold Express, and he was on the clock.